on the way. I'm going to cover the 7 rules of property investing. I'm going to look at the importance of mindset and your why, which is really, really important. How to choose the right investment property, who you need to know in order to BRRRR, which is buy, rent, refurbish. Sorry, buy, renovate, refurbish. It should also be refinance and then rent. So there should be another 2 R's there. What you need to do to make your first offer. So a little bit about myself. I'm a business coach and HR consultant in my my real life, if you like. And I started the property journey as a bit of a hobby because I wanted to create a pension fund with my sister, but we went and did some training and we absolutely fell in love with it, and so I've gone on to do some property training myself, and then I'm a mentor with Your Freedom Empire, and the lovely Hayley from Your Freedom Empire is here with us today. I own and run several businesses, and I've been renovating, extending my own properties since 1990, but doing it as a business only in the last few years. My sister and partner, she's an occupational therapist. She loves properties as well. She loves the interior design side of it. She's got an eye for a bargain. So she's a great partner to have. So I go out and find the properties and then she sorts them out and takes care of them. So we make a great team. As with any business, it's really important when you're starting out to really consider what it is you want to get from the business, like when you're starting anything. And for those of you that run your own businesses, you will have a kind of reason why you went into it. And I think it's very important to have that written down somewhere. We've got it on our website. We've got a vision, if you like, of where we want to go with our property business. We have a mission, and we also have values that are important to us. And it's having these, this is almost our why, if you like, it is how we select who we work with. So I look for people who've got similar values to myself and Karen, because then we make a great team. So essentially what we're doing is we're helping to end homelessness. That's my big grand vision, if you like. And we're doing that because we have a passion for taking tired, empty properties and creating homes where great memories are made. And that's kind of, that's what we really love doing. We love those empty properties that are sitting that nobody else wants anything to do with. And we take them and turn them around and create beautiful homes. Our values are fairness. So every time we do a deal, we're looking to create a win-win situation. So we want to make sure that whatever we're doing works for us, it works for the investor that comes in with us, it works for the person that's going to rent or buy the property, and it works for the person who's selling the property. And that's really important. We're interested in growth, so we are growing our business, we're growing our income, and we're creating a legacy for our retirement, if you like, and something that we can pass on to our families. And again, the deals that we do create a genuine opportunity also for our investors to grow their own income and grow their portfolios. Relationships are very important to us. It's a relationship business. You know, we've got a power team around us. We network like crazy, and what we really want to do is we want to make sure that we're helping you achieve a better financial position with everything that we do. We also have integrity. There are lots of property people around, and when you're looking for people to work with, look for people that have got integrity, because it's really important. We always calculate what we're doing very ethically, and it's important that we like to look after our tenants, and we make sure that we're fair in everything we do, and we have fun. We love, it's really important that we enjoy what we do, and so we love helping people and we love finding solutions. So, you know, some people end up with properties, they perhaps inherit them by accident, don't really want to be landlords. We find people who are in negative equity situations and they can't sell their property, and so it's things like that. We help to find solutions for people. That's what we enjoy. If you've got any questions throughout, stick your little hand up. the hands up, and I can come and answer any questions. So that's a little bit about us and our business and why we do what we do, and that why is really, really important, because it's what gets us out of bed in the morning, knowing that if I can't be bothered getting up, that I'm not helping homeless people, is kind of what makes me get out of bed. So I'm going to go into now the 7 rules of property investing. Now, I was introduced to these by Pip Stellick, who is part of Your Freedom Empire, and they just really sum up the property investing journey. The first rule of property investing is make money when you buy. So when we're looking for property, we're always looking to buy property at a slight discount. So, you know, ideally, we're looking for stuff that we can get at 25% below market value, but we're really looking for those tired, empty properties, and we're looking to help people out of situations. So we're looking for the deals. That's the ideal scenario. The reality is there are less and less of these around. So, you know, more often than not, we have to be prepared to perhaps look at market value, but I'll never pay more than market value for a property. So I'm always looking for the deals where I can make money when I'm actually buying the property. Then I add value, then I sell on or I refinance, and that property is worth a good bit more than when I first started. Always look for properties you can add value to, and that's really enhancing your investment. It's increasing your investment. So I look for properties that perhaps just need minor refurbishments, perhaps a new bathroom or a new kitchen or redecoration. They might need renovation, so we might be knocking walls down or building extra rooms. We might be looking for a change of use, so we've done commercial building that was offices and we changed that into 4 flats, so that was a fairly significant renovation. Or we might look at properties that have got, you know, perhaps a property that's got room at the side where you could extend it. Perhaps it's got a garage that could be converted into a room, or maybe you could extend out the back. So we're always looking for the different opportunities and ways we could add value onto a property. Have multiple exits. So when you're looking at a property, if you're like me and you're wanting to build a pension fund from property, so you're primarily looking to rent properties, that's great. So you work out the deal. If it's going to rent well, that's amazing. But sometimes things don't always go to plan. Perhaps the rental market changes, or perhaps somebody wants to buy your property. So you've got to make sure that it works as a deal when you sell it. So we're looking to, you know, what will you get if you sell the property? Will it rent well? What else could you do with the property? Could you have it as serviced accommodation? Is it in an ideal place where people might like to come for a holiday? Or is it an ideal spot for contractors to rent out on a short-term basis where you could potentially earn a bit more money from it? Or is it suitable for social housing or housing for social needs? In which case that's another exit altogether. So always have a minimum of 2 exits, but the more exits you have, the more flexibility you've got with the property in the future, because things change. You never know what's going to happen. We initially started out, we wanted to flip properties. The commercial to residential conversion that we did overran by 12 months. We've learnt lots, by the way. And so what happened was the market when we bought it was perfect for selling. Then when it came to actually selling them on the market, the government introduced a Help to Buy scheme, and the first time buyers that were ideally suited to these properties were now going down the road to the brand new housing estate because they could get a 25% towards their properties. So it suddenly meant that these city centre properties were no longer attractive to the first time buyers. So we decided that we would rent them, and actually we then got the opportunity to convert them into serviced accommodation. So it worked really well. So we know that they will sell in the future, but actually they rent really well to traditional tenants, but they also rent to contractors, and we're maximising what we can get out of those properties. So you need to have the at least 2 exits for the property you're looking at. If you're serious about buying property to make money from, you need to be taking action. You need to be looking at properties, you need to be going out and doing viewings, and most importantly, you need to be making offers every week. I think when we first started, we were making 30 to 40 offers a week. And to get to the stage where we were making 30 to 40 offers a week, we were going out and viewing hundreds of properties. So it can take up a lot of time. So you want to make sure that you can schedule some time into your diary for doing these, researching, finding the properties and doing the viewings. Set yourself targets of how many properties you're going to look at, how many properties are you going to work up, and how many are you going to make offers on. Set those targets every week, and those targets would relate to your kind of end goal, if you like. Now, of course, what I've just described sounds like quite a lot of work, and I'm guessing some of you already run businesses and you don't necessarily want to be doing all of those viewings and finding those properties. The good news is there are people that run businesses sourcing the right types of properties for you. So you engage with a good registered qualified sourcing agent. They will do all the groundwork and they will find you the right types of properties that you want to be investing in. So if you don't want to do that side of it, if you want to be more active at the back end of it in terms of doing the purchasing and the renovating, then a good sourcing agent is worth their weight in gold. And we'll talk about how you can find them in a bit. And the good news is some of those sourcing agents will also take on the refurb and the renovation for you as well. So finding sourcing agents means you're not just confined to investing in property locally to you. You could actually go invest in property in other parts of the country, because there are sourcing agents all over the UK that can find you what you're looking for, and help you grow your portfolio. Be embarrassed. It's really important not to overpay for properties. And one of the biggest things we learned was, if you're not embarrassed about the offer that you put in for your property, then you've offered too much money. And I can genuinely say that's true. And once you start to build relationships with estate agents, I don't know if there's any estate agents in the room today. Carol's nearly an estate agent. Once they get to know you, they'll know the types of properties you're looking for, and they'll but sometimes they can be a little bit insulted at first. But I think most estate agents are now getting used to investors and the types of properties they're looking for. But at the end of the day, we're doing this as a business, we're doing this to make money. So we need to make sure that we are offering what we can afford to pay for the property in order to be able to make some money from it. So you put your offer in, it might be accepted, it might not be accepted. It might be accepted in a few months' time when still nobody else wants to buy that property. So like I say, first time when we first got started, we had about 40 offers in. One of those offers came through, and it was probably a couple of months after those offers had gone in. So you put those offers in and then you move on to the next property. So one of the hardest things I found was not getting emotional about the purchases. You go in and see a house and you think, would I live here? And that you can't get emotional about it. This is a business decision. This house will rent well or it will sell well. Let's buy it, and it's got to be as cut and dried as that. No need to get romantic about living there and that kind of thing. So be embarrassed. Be legal. There are lots of people who will offer you shortcuts and things like that. It's not worth it. It's really important that you follow the processes, that you work with your advisors, your power team, that you understand the right structures to put your business in, the right structures to buy properties. I can't advise you on that. We set up a company because it made financial sense, and that's what our tax accountant told us was the best way for us to buy properties. When you're starting out, you might buy properties in your own name. And that's fine. But whatever you do, you've got to speak to an accountant first. They'll look at the situation you're in just now and they'll advise you the best way to proceed. Lending is cheaper if you buy in your own name quite often. So sometimes if you want to get started, that's a good way to get started. Once you are buying as a commercial entity, then the rates start to get a bit more expensive. But those rates come down the more properties you buy. So it swings in roundabouts. For most people, I say just get started, just buy a property. But you want to be making sure that you do it in the right way. When you're buying a property, make sure you know what the exit's going to be. So if you're buying a property to rent, you've got to be upfront with the lenders about what you're going to use the property for, because they have quite strict criteria about what they lend for. So if you decide that you want to perhaps rent it out as serviced accommodation, then some lenders won't allow you to do that. And if you decide to go and do it and don't tell your lenders that you know, perhaps you switch your strategy halfway through, which we did, but you must get permission from your lenders to do that. Mortgage companies are going on to Airbnb and Booking.com, and they're looking for properties that are within their portfolios. And if they're looking to see whether the owners have got permission to rent it out in that way. And if you haven't, they could pull the mortgage product from you and you could lose that property. So there's no point. Do things right. Make sure you've got the agreements and things in place with your tenants. Use a good letting agent, and they will do all of that for you and take care of that. If you are going to do it yourself, then you need to make sure that you comply with regulations, and there's a lot of regulations now around, so it makes much more sense. Unless you want to be a letting agent and set up a letting agency, then go to the experts who already know what they're doing, but make sure you're doing it properly and you've got all of the right things in place that keep you right as well. If you get to the stage where you have a problem with a tenant, the letting agent will be there for you and will step in and support you. If you're doing it yourself, there's a lot of work involved. I'm sure Carol will nod and share that it could be pretty tough if you've got to deal with a problem tenant. And a great letting agent is going to help make sure you don't have problem tenants in the first place. I, touch wood, have not had any tenant issues so far, and it's because we have good processes in place to make sure we get the right tenants for our properties. However, with the serviced accommodation, that's been a little bit more interesting, because you have less control over who stays in your property. And we've had some interesting guests. We had a couple of guys arrested for running an illegal brothel for a week in one of our properties in Aberdeen. So the police were called, and my sister was alerted to the fact that the police were there, and she went in after the police had taken the guys away and cleared up an interesting array of toys. Joking aside, it was very young girls that were in there, and they were suspected of human trafficking. So it just gives me chills thinking about it. Got to be really careful. And I know, some people have ended up with cannabis farms in properties as well and things like that. So you have to be really on it in terms of who's in your property and be around. Now, I'm not trying to put you off. I'm just trying to make you aware that these things can happen, but a good letting agent will be there to support you and make sure that these things are minimized, or they'll be there for you. And finally, have integrity about what you're doing. So, do what you say you're going to do. Look after the people around you. Build a good reputation with your power team, because you want them to stick around and you want to keep working with them for a long time. It's a small industry. People, word gets around. So if you do things the wrong way, people will find out about it, and you won't be in a property business for very long. So having integrity is really, really important. Any questions on the 7 rules of property investing?
Wendy, Jen has put a really good question in the chat box. Jen, do you want to ask the question, sweetheart?
Yeah, sure. I just wondered, Wendy, when you get started, did you worry about wasting estate agents' time by going out on millions of viewings every week? Or did you do all your research online, but then just go out and view the ones that you were serious about offering on?
Well, we're quite fortunate in Scotland in that we have every property up for sale has a home report. So it means you can pretty much decide before you even go and see a property whether you're interested in buying. So we did an awful lot of desk research before we went out. We connected in the areas where we wanted to invest. We went and introduced ourselves to estate agents. So we started to build a relationship. There are a lot of property investors around, so estate agents are used to the types of conversations you're going to have. Most of them have been property investors themselves, so they actually want to help. So I didn't ever see it as wasting people's time, and providing you build a good relationship with them, then they won't see it as that. And you know, they'll be realistic with you. You know, they'll tell you whether you're barking up the wrong tree, or you know, sometimes you'll get them where I had one a few weeks back where he said, I can't take that to my client. I was like, I said, I think you'll find that you are duty bound to take this offer to your client because they are legally required to take all offers. So yeah, that was a relatively new agent that I didn't know very well. So it just happened to be a property that we saw and thought, let's go for this. So it's interesting.
Okay.
But no, I wouldn't be worried. Build those relationships, and then that's probably most important.
Okay.
Any other questions before I move on? No.
No more questions in the chat box, Wendy.
Okay. So the importance of mindset and your why. I already talked about kind of my why, and although I'd been kind of playing with property and that we always bought a house and we had to either extend it or do it up, we added value to it, and it was really great. And I remember in 2010, we bought a house and we paid, sorry, no, it was earlier than that. It was 2001. I've got my ones and zeros the wrong way around. It was back in 2001. So we bought a house in an estate, a 4-bedroomed house, and we paid about 103,000 for it. And it was nice, didn't need any work done. So it was the first time we'd ever bought a house that was like perfect, almost, if you like. So we moved in, and then we found something to do. It had an integral garage. We thought, let's convert the garage into another room. That would give us some extra space. The kids were getting bigger. They could have a playroom, and we built a garage. We had quite a bit of space at the side of the house, so we built my husband is a mechanic, so he wanted some space to play with cars at home. So we built a big garage at the back of that, and we knew that would add value to the house, so we were quite happy to do that. We then in 2004 went to sell it. Markets had changed, but it got valued at 205,000, so it had increased by over 100,000. Now, when we were doing the property training, they would tell you property doubles in price every 10 to 15 years. It goes in cycles. So yes, property does go down, but on the whole, it will always go up and it doubles in value. And there was prime evidence of the fact that property doubled in value. And we rented it out for a few years, and then we did sell it in 2007, and we got 220,000 for it. So it was just, you know, awesome. And it's, you know, seeing things like that made me think, I know people make a career out of property and they make money from property for a business, but you know, how do you even do that? And then I went on and carried on doing what I was doing. But eventually we got the bug for it, and we went and got some training, because I think it's really important. Yes, you can read books about it. Yes, you can come and, you know, listen to me talking about it. But you need to go and get some proper training and understand, you know, there are some legalities around it, but also a lot of the property trainers know the shortcuts as well, and they can help you get there quicker. And that's why it's important to think about having a mentor or a coach, or work with a training company, because they will help you get to where you need to be quicker. So one of the things when we started on our property journey we had to think about was, what do we really want to do here? What's our kind of end goal? You know, if money was no object, you know, what would we do with our lives? And this starts to become your why. And yes, the helping to end homelessness is a big why for me, but also I wanted to spend more time with my family. I'm going to be a grandma soon, so you know, that's become my why. Jason, I don't know if you knew that. Jason, my nephew's on here. I don't know if he knows that yet, but Cammie's
I do. I found out the other day. Congratulations.
Thank you. You're so my why is kind of, you know, increased even more now. I want to be around to you know, I want to have time. I never wanted to have time for my own children, but I want to be there for my grandkids. So I want to help, and so that's really cool for me. So what what I think we're going to do is we're going to pop you into breakout rooms in a minute, and I want just you to have a think about dream income. What would that dream income look like? How much money would you need then in order to have your dream life? You know, if there was no object, you know, what would that look like? So if there are no barriers to your earning potential, how much would you ask for? Never mind how you're going to get it for this. I want you to just really think about how much money you would want to earn. Where does your financial thermostat need to be? And if you're part of Paula's club, you'll know what we mean by financial thermostat. It's where your mindset sits in terms of what you think you're worth and what you think you're able to earn. And what we want you to be thinking about, how do we push that financial thermostat through the roof so that our earning potentials become exponential, abundant? So what's that figure look like? So let's pop you into breakout rooms. Are you able to do that, Paula? Into maybe threes? And I just want you to jot down what you think that is. And then you put the figure in the chat box, and we'll come back and have a chat about that. I'll give you 5 minutes just to think about, just have a chat about what that dream income would look like. Hi, Dina.
Hi, how are you, Wendy? It's good to see you. Good to hear you. This is amazing. Lisa's listening in as well.
Awesome. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello.
Cool. So how did you find that?
It was a bit short because we were just getting going, I think.
Okay. Well,
but it was good. It's fun doing the breakout rooms.
Yeah, something to work on, I think. And I think it's something people often don't think about is what that end goal might look like. There a lot of money mindset blocks get in the way. But it's good to think about, because you know, you need a plan. You need to know where you're going, don't you?
We've like sat down and we've looked at all of the outgoings, like what would we need in order to replace, like to just live without having any employment? What would that look like? What is that figure? And then increasing it for, you know, all of the other fun stuff and all of the dreams that we have and all of that. So we do have a figure that we're working to.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me share my screen again. Okay. So the dream income is one thing to think about. And having your dream income, it's a bit like standing at the foot of a mountain and looking up, and your dream income is up the top. There are things that you need to do to get there, aren't there? There are steps you have to take, like any big goal in life. If you break it down, then that journey becomes easier and it becomes much more fun. So the figure I like to think about is survival income. And I think if you are going to be, if you're doing this as a passive income as part of your business, then it might be, you know, how much of an income do you want to generate from property for your business? You need to think about what that number is. If you're thinking about starting a property empire, then you're going to need to free yourself up to be able to spend more time doing it. So what is the amount of money you need to have coming in that case, in order to be able to give up your job so that you can really focus on property as a business? So this is almost like, what's the minimum? Where do you want it to be? And the question I like to ask is, if you couldn't work tomorrow, how much money do you have in the bank to last you? Do you know what that figure is? Just pop it in the chat box. Got any numbers coming in the chat box?
Not yet. It's going to be the first one.
Okay. While you're thinking about that, and if you don't want to share, that's fine. Think about how much you need to spend on essentials, and it sounds like Dina's already had a go at doing that. You know, what does your mortgage cost you? So these are things that you can't live without. You have to have money coming in to cover these. What's the insurance? What about loans, credit cards? What are your food bills? How much you spend on fuel? Are there any school fees? You know, what else might you have to spend every month on essentials? I'm not counting here luxury items. We can think about those afterwards. What we're looking at is what's the minimum amount of money that you would like to earn from property to get you started on the journey. And for some people that might be the pension income. So they want to earn, you know, in order to continue to live the life you're living right now, what does that income look like? You know, if you're on a salary of 30 grand a year, then perhaps you want your pension fund to be giving you 30 grand a year. Have you looked at what your pension fund is going to bring you? And I think 5 years ago when I looked at mine, I got a bit of a shock, which, you know, I think we're going to be, when I reach retirement age, it's going to be probably 70 plus, probably maybe nearer the 80s, who knows, because we're all living longer, aren't we, lasting longer. So what does that look like? What sort of pension income? You know, maybe you've got some pension money there and you just want to top it up. Think about what that survival income is going to be. What do you need to survive? What's that figure? So would it be useful to go back into breakout rooms for 5 minutes and just discuss that? So this is the first stepping stone to getting you towards your dream income.
So that's the rooms open. So 5 minutes, did you say, Wendy?
So
Yeah.
everyone know what they need in order to survive then?
Yeah.
You've got an idea of what you want. Brilliant. Let's share my screen again. So I was saying, you know, even if you decide that property isn't for you, knowing this is a really good idea, because whatever happens in life, at some point you're going to need that amount of money coming in from somewhere. So whether you choose property as the vehicle for doing it, or whether you choose something else to invest in, it's a good idea to know what that looks like. So thank you for playing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how to choose the right investment property. Now, there's lots of different ways to do this, and again, when you go on property training courses, you will learn lots of different ways to do it. The easiest way is to get a sourcing agent to find the properties for you. The obvious choice at the moment, I think, is perhaps having a look at Rightmove and just starting to look at different types of properties. There's a lot of work that needs to go in deciding what your strategy is. Are you investing in property because you want to create a pot of cash, in which case you've got to be looking for properties that you can do up and sell on? Or are you creating a pension income or a passive income for your business? What are your reasons? What's behind it all? And you need to know that before you can then start to think about the right investment properties for you. So we're here primarily to think about passive income. This is at what we call the investment pyramid. Carol needs to go. Okay, bye, Carol. Thanks for joining us. This is what we call the investment pyramid, and this is just to really highlight the different opportunities there are within property to make money. If you start to get, if you like me and you get the bug for it once you start, then you may want to go into investing in different areas, and there are lots of reasons why that could be a good idea for you. But I think what's really important is to get started with the basic buy-to-let properties. So this is where we buy a property and then we rent it out. In the ideal world, you're buying a property that needs a bit of work done, so you're increasing its value, and then you're going to find a tenant that's going to pay you rent every month. Social housing is in there because that's a form of tenant, and there are housing authorities and housing associations that will take property from you on a long lease, and they will then rent them out for perhaps a period of 12 months or maybe a period of 5 years, and they'll take away the property and look after it, and you don't need to worry about it. So it's quite a nice tenant. The rent tends to be a bit lower in those types of properties, but you've got that consistency of rent for a guaranteed period. So in some ways it's quite nice. So that's just a type of tenant, if you like, or a way of finding people to take on your rental properties. So even within the buy-to-let property, we need to be thinking about what type of tenant do we want to provide properties for. You know, do we primarily want to find properties for families? Do we want to find them for professional couples? Or do we want to go down the social housing route? What's our tenant? So primarily we were looking for properties for professional couples, but I'm the chair of a homeless charity, so I'm also looking at the social housing route and how I can support charities to create properties for their tenants, for their clients, if you like. It's really important, if you want to move into other areas of investment, that you build a solid base of buy-to-let properties, so you've got some regular income to support you. It takes, if you buy a buy-to-let property, it's probably going to take you, depending on how bad the refurb is, it might take you 3 or 4 months to get that property into the state where you can get tenants in it. And we want to get tenants in quickly because we want to earn money from the property. The longer you have an empty property, it's costing you money. As we move up into the bigger development projects, these projects take a lot longer. So they're costing you money for a period of time before you've got any money coming in. So we need to cost all of that into our projects, but we need to also make sure we've got the cash flow to be able to support that project while it's ongoing. So that solid base of buy-to-let properties is really helpful to help you grow into other areas if that's what you choose to do. The other benefit of building a small buy-to-let portfolio initially is the experience it gives you. Lenders will base the interest rates they offer you on your experience as a property investor, if you like. So when you're starting out, you probably find that the interest rates being offered are higher than they will be further down the line when you've got more properties. And subsequently, as you start to move up the triangle or the pyramid, the interest rates will be more expensive when you start at that area. The more experience you get, the better interest rates the lenders will start to offer you. So part of your power team, a good broker that can help advise you on how to do that and where to get the best rates. But we want to really start down here when we're building our passive income. We want to start with buy-to-let properties. Once we've got a few of those, we could move into the HMO properties or multi-let properties if you're investing south of the border. These are properties where you might have a 5-bedroom property and you rent the properties out by the room. So in Scotland, it's commonly done for students. Down in England, in a lot of the bigger cities, you find that professionals are actually moving into HMO properties, and that it's becoming quite popular to have community living in houses like that. But we're not really seeing that in Scotland yet, mainly for students. Lease options are just a way of helping people to sell their property, so you're helping to facilitate. Again, these don't work so well in Scotland, they work really well in England, but once you become more experienced in property, this is a really good way to help control property transactions. Again, the more experience you get, you could move then into commercial, and renting commercial property out is quite attractive. I know perhaps people might be a bit nervous at the moment because of what's going on and people moving out of offices in droves and the high streets are dying, but that presents other opportunities. So again, as you become more experienced in property, there may be some great opportunities in those areas. And then at the top of the triangle, we've got sort of off-plan and development. So this would be, getting a field and building some houses in it. When I started in property, the first deal we did was we built 3 houses on a plot of land in our back garden. so we started at the top. This meant we didn't have this nice, secure, stable income below. And we sailed pretty close to the wind as we were progressing with the development. And we learned, again, every day is a school day. We learned a lot just by doing that process. And I think what the mistakes that we made, what we realized when we went and got training, was we realized we should actually have started out with some property here at the base of the triangle, created that solid foundation, and we might have enjoyed that journey more. It came out all right. We sold 2 of the bungalows that we built, and we kept one of them for my mum. So, you know, it worked out well for us in the end. But it was a very painful 2 to 3 years while we were going through that process. So I wouldn't advise it. And if you do, make sure you get a good power team around you to really support you through that journey. Around the edge of the pyramid, we've got flips. It's quite a good idea to think about maybe buying a property and selling it to create a cash pot. So if you're starting out with not much money, then you might want to build more deposits. So flipping a property, so that's buying it, doing it up and selling it on, is a good way to increase your cash pot. The other thing you can do is, as you're going around and looking at all these properties, working out which ones are deals, putting offers in. Let's say you end up getting 3 or 4 properties being accepted, and you decide, well, actually, we only really want to do one of these. Somebody else might be interested in taking those deals off your hand. So you could source those property deals on to somebody else. And there are lots of people very successfully making a business from finding good property deals and sourcing them on to property investors that maybe don't have the time to go and look for properties and do all that kind of groundwork. So I think it was Ian mentioned earlier, that might be something, Ian, you might be interested in doing. Now, to become a sourcing agent, you need to be compliant, and there are regulations that you need to follow. You need to be insured, and you also need to be registered with an ombudsman for redress. So there's quite a lot of processes to go through. So again, if you are interested in sourcing property on the basis of making more money from it, then it's certainly something worth thinking about. Sourcing agents will charge you anything from £1,000 a deal to £3,000 a deal. And then perhaps if they're sourcing bigger deals, HMO properties, or perhaps commercial deals, then it tends to go on a percentage of the deal. So there can be quite a lot of money to be made in sourcing, and quite a lot of property investors do it alongside their business, or there are some people that just source because that's the bit of property investing that they love doing. Sorry, Jen's just suggesting that if anyone's interested in helping each other start the journey, she would like to connect. Jen is a sourcing agent. Woohoo! She's compliant. So if you want someone to find you properties, then hook up with Jen, and she can help you with that. So does that make sense? This is why we're starting with buy-to-let properties. We want to build a passive income. It's a nice way to do it. It's probably the easiest way to get started. But if you want to progress up the way, that option is there for you further down the line. Has anyone got any questions on the investment pyramid?
No questions in the chat box, but who's got the best question in the room? Who's got a question that they dare ask?
Would you recommend, Wendy, doing a buy-to-let first before doing a flip, or would you say that there's no sort of what's best doing first? I think for your first sort of one.
Yeah, I think that's really going to be down to your circumstances and your experience. If you need to bring some cash into the business, then go do a flip, and that will provide you with some cash. If you've got the deposits there, then crack on and do the buy-to-lets. And some people will do maybe 3 or 4 buy-to-lets and then flip a property, and they'll do that as a kind of cycle until they've got the portfolio to be the size they want. So it's really personal.
Personal choice. Okay, thank you.
Wendy, can I ask you a question about an HMO that we looked at? So we went and saw an HMO, and it's in a town near ours. It was very well presented in a nice area in a town, like I said, nearby us. It already was fully tenanted, and one of the tenants was the owner who would be moving out. The numbers stacked quite nicely in terms of like the rent amount, being able to develop it further. Everything in the loft had already been sort of kitted out, ready for it to be developed into another room. So it has 3 rooms at the moment, but could have 4. The difficulty was the price. The asking price was based on it being a 3-bedroom property, but in essence, they turned the living room into a bedroom. So, and the kitchen was very small because they'd converted it into an HMO, but it was on the market way above when we looked at the kitchen was small anyway. The dining room was non-existent. There was just like a small table. Basically, they changed the whole property to be an HMO. I don't think it would be suitable for a family home now. The flooring that they chose, everything is, hard wearing for an HMO. But I guess my question is around the price. So how is it all bets are off for how you decide whether or not that's above market value or what market value would be? Because when we looked at it and we looked at price comparables on Rightmove, we were looking at 2-bedroom properties, even 3-bedroom properties. They were about 20 grand over what was typical asking price in the area for that type of property. They were asking for 20 grand more, but it's an HMO. So I think, well, does that not apply then? Because we're trying to compare an HMO to like a family home.
Yeah, I don't think you can compare. I don't know if Hayley's still here. Hayley might want to come in and help with this. Hayley's got lots of HMOs.
Because we're really,
I am here.
I think they're great.
Sorry, bear with me. So, I mean, who was it? Sorry, I haven't got, who was
Dina.
it? Who was talking then? Dina. So Dina, with a HMO, if it's 7 or more, then you can look at it from a commercial valuation. Anything less than that, then you will very much be looking at the bricks and mortar. So the comparables that you have are actually the market value. You can't look at the income that it generates, not in that scenario.
Right. So we were
so
right.
I'd say make your offer. Yeah. 100%. Sorry, I've just ran up the stairs, so I'm out of breath. I'm cooking dinner because I'm actually on a social this evening, first time forever, but on a Zoom social this evening, so I'm trying to get everything done. But yes, you're 100% right. And what I would do is when you're making that offer to the estate agent or direct to the vendor, if that's how this deal has come to you, just back up why you're making that offer. And then of course, is it compliant?
It is.
Is it, yeah. So it's fully compliant and it's fully tenanted.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it in an area that needs licensing? Is it in Scotland or where is the property?
It's in England, in South Yorkshire.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if it was in Scotland. I know that it's different there. So I would say to you that the way you've approached it is bang on. You've got to look at the comparables from a bricks and mortar valuation because realistically that is exactly how it will be valued. Although you can take into account that it is an asset, an income producing asset, from a mortgageability point of view, that is what your loan will be based off. So your mortgage will be a loan to value based off that fair market value. So you're 100% right. So make the offer, back up why you're making that offer. And then just to caveat what Wendy was saying earlier, you really want to be making sure you're following up on those offers, because right now we are in the height of the market. We are going to see some changes, towards maybe a little bit prolonged now that there's talks that the stamp duty holiday is going to be extended again. But regardless, throughout the second quarter and the third quarter of this year, we will see a downturn in the housing market, in my opinion. Not hugely, I'm thinking at around 10 or 11%, but that's something else that we need to factor into account. So we definitely at this moment in time don't want to be offering over market value. And you have 3 good strong comparables sold within a mile of the postcode that you're looking to buy, like for like. You're not just placing a low ball offer.
Yeah.
You're backing up why you're making that offer.
Yeah.
And I would arguably say, as a contingency, you want to be, we want to make our money in the buy, as Wendy said, so although, you may feel like you're wasting the estate agent's time, you're not. You're actually minimizing your risk, and you may have to make 40, 50 offers before one gets accepted. And your offer may not be accepted immediately, but follow-up is key as well, because although the desire to accept the offer isn't there today, it may be in 2 months' time. So it's continually following up to make sure that your offer still stands. I'll quite often have a conversation with estate agents. I make the offer, they laugh at me. I explain the offer. We have a very good relationship, as Wendy said as well, with all of the agents that I work with, and even if it's direct to vendor. But I don't just leave it and walk away. I have a database of offers that have been made. I'm continually following up, and it's normally on the follow-ups, still a quick phone call to say, hey, I've noticed that the property is still on the market, just to let you know my offer stands for 30 days, just to give that urgency behind it. But it is difficult in today's market. Right now, we are buying at a premium price, and there's a lot of competition in the market as well because of the stamp duty holiday and low interest rates. So, we are competing at the highest level. So is there going to be better times to buy? Yes, absolutely. Does that mean we shouldn't buy? No, I'm still buying. But of course, we've got to be selective in the deals that we are buying and making sure we are following those golden rules, making the money in the buy, adding value, forcing appreciation, so that when we refinance or sell, we have, a cushion there. We're making a great return. We're not going to be in a position of being in negative equity or having to sell or the demand dying off, etc. So I'd say you're bang on in what you've done. Go forward, place an offer with your comparables, explain your reasons why, and then leave that offer on the table. They may come back to you.
Yeah, I mean, they only bought it a year ago, and they've put the price up by, they've reflected in the price the amount of work. Basically, they're trying to get their investment back out again, I think. And also, so we haven't made an offer, but we will do after this tonight. We will make an offer, and we'll make an offer based on what we think it's worth. And if because it hasn't sold. I mean, I saw it was about a month ago, and it hasn't moved. And interestingly, the owners need to move. They're from Poland, and they need to go back to Poland now. So I think that's like kind of the best storm, isn't it? Sort of, we need to go, we need to sell this. And so, and we're getting emails saying it's still on the market. So, okay, thank you.
Just one other thing, if you are buying with the tenants in situ, make sure that you have a look at what contracts they're on, and you want to see proof that the rent is being paid as well.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Because you don't want them to become your problem.
Keep us updated, Dina.
Okay.
I'm just saying, let us know how you get on, Dina. That's cool.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks.
Cool. So I'm just going to cover a couple of property deals that I've done very quickly, and just really to say, if you want to do property because you want to create a cash pot, then the equation for creating capital is we want to find out what the fair market value of the property is. So that's the value of the property when it's in a good condition, so all the work's been done. So this is kind of, where it looks really smart and it's all finished. So you look at your property and you work out how that's going to be. You can ask the estate agents what they would sell it for if you brought it back to them. You can look around the area and look at other properties and get comparables, which I think is what Dina's done. Then you want to take away from that fair market value the purchase price plus the added value plus the fees, and what you've got left is the profit. So that's the money you make. So that's essentially the equation. What that looks like in reality, one of the deals we did not that long ago, fair market value for the property was 110,000. We bought it for 70. We added £20,000 worth of value. Fees were 5,000. profit for that property was £15,000. So that's kind of what you're looking at. Now that took us, it took us about 5 months to do. So 15 grand for 5 months work, it's not bad, is it? So we can then use that money for a deposit towards the deposit in the next place. Here is another property that we did. So again, you can see we're buying in an area where this is the sort of value of properties we're looking at. This is what the property looked like. So the kitchen was a mess. There were holes in the floor, lovely wallpaper. It did have a nice little conservatory. I think the lady must have just lived in that space, because that room was really nice. So we stripped it back. We paid 70 for this property. We spent 21 on this, including the fees. So we'd spent a total of 91,000 on that property. So the profit for us would have been 19 if we'd sold it, but this one we decided we would keep. So we remortgaged it. We borrowed 82,500. We used that money to pay back the original mortgage of 70 and some of the refurb. So there was £8,500 still left in the property of our money, but we knew we would get that back. I think the time to get that back was just under 2 years. So we were quite happy with that. There are some property investors that wouldn't do a deal like that, but I was quite happy. And that's going to make me money for as long as I've got it now. I don't know if you can see yeah, so money back in 2 years. This is what it looked like when we'd finished. So you can see we just painted everything white, and these were new carpets already in the room, so we left them. Everywhere else we put new flooring, new kitchen. There was a big cupboard here. We took the cupboard out, made the kitchen bigger, so this could actually be a sitting living room kitchen. It's a very big room, which would then give them 4 bedrooms. So we advertised this as a 3/4 bedroomed house, and we put a lovely new bathroom in as well. The boom should come at the end, so I'm not sure what I've done with my presentation here. So when we're working out how much money this property is going to make us, we need to know what the rent's going to be. We need to take away the monthly mortgage payment from that. We need to take away any agency fees, and we also need to put away a portion of money each month to cover management fees. So we put away 10%, and that's to cover the cost of the gas safety certificate. It's to cover the cost of replacing any items when there's a change of tenancy. And we just put that into an account, and that sits there. So after that, what's left is our profit each month. So for this property, rent is £600 a month. Mortgage is 155, fees £60 a month. And we put away £60 in a pot. Even though this is a brand newly refurbished property, we still put that money to one side, because in a few years' time we might need to replace the white goods, and we know in 10 years we're probably going to need to replace the boiler. So we were always putting a little bit of money aside to cover those costs. So the profit, this property is making us £325 every month. So we know that money will in 2 years' time, that will just be pure profit, and that's a nice little earner for us in our pension as we when we think about retiring. So when we think about what your survival budget is, if you divide your survival budget by this amount of money, you know that you would need a number of properties earning you that to create your survival income. And as far as your dream income goes, you know that you would want to be earning. So 10 properties similarly to this would bring in £3,000, just over £3,000 a month. So that's going to be quite nice, isn't it? As a retirement plan, 10 properties looked after, creating that income. Yay, it worked. Okay, what I wanted to also show you was another property we did. We paid 195 for this property. The rent 750. Mortgage is a lot bigger for this property because the purchase price was higher. We also bought this just as the pandemic was starting. So the banks pulled all their products and hiked up their interest rates, and there was less options for us. So we're paying quite a high mortgage at the moment, but we know that we'll refinance this property in maybe 2 or 3 years' time. We'll do that when the market settles, And we might be able to pull some more money out of the property, and we'll be paying a lower rate. We've got our lettings agency fees. I always use a letting agent. I wouldn't manage the properties myself. And we choose letting agents, and we choose them for their values, and they really take care of our properties. We also put this MOE stands for management and operating expenses. And that property is bringing in £295 a month. So again, who wouldn't want that? And what I wanted to show you, and in fact, I'll show you at the end. I've got one more property to show you. How are we doing for time? Okay. I wanted just to introduce commercial to you. So this is a commercial property. Generally, you wouldn't really go into commercial property until you've got a bit more experience, because we want the interest rates to be better for us, and again, we want to have that stable income. But if you already run a business and perhaps you're renting office space, it might be worth thinking about buying a property where you can then have your own office space, and you could possibly get a bigger property and rent out space to other people. So just to give you an example of that, this is a property that we bought back in 2004, and it's a 600 square feet, no, 600 square meter unit. It's quite a big unit anyway. The majority, 2/3 of the unit are workshop space, and a third of the building is office space. And it's rented out to my husband and his business. So that worked out quite nicely. We've got, so he rents the office space and the workshop space. And then we actually had a cafe, which we set up in this part of the building there. And initially we set it up and I ran it myself, but that was too much like hard work. So we then got a tenant in to take over the cafe. So that was just an example of, you know, and the rent coming in from that helped to pay the mortgage for the building. So it was a no-brainer. We've now rebranded and kind of updated things a bit. And we also put a car wash in. You can't see it. The car wash is just to the right-hand side there. This car wash brings in money while we sleep. So it's a great investment. So that's another great idea. Find a piece of land, stick some car washes on it. It's not as simple as that. You do need planning permission and things like that. But from a, you know, cash flow point of view, this is a real cash cow and a great business opportunity. So what did that look like financially? We paid $230,000 for that building. It's now worth 280 because that was quite a few years ago. So yeah, so we paid 230 for it. The fees were about £2,000. So the profit we've made on that building now is 48,000. Now, yes, at the moment, commercially, it might not be worth as much as that. It may have dipped again. That was a valuation we got, I think it was 18 months ago when we refinanced it. So it may have dipped a bit, but we know it'll go up again. And when property drops in value, it's only a problem if you need to sell. And I'm primarily buying to hold. So I know that is going to go up in value in the future. When my husband gets to retirement age, we will sell the business and someone else will come in and run the business, but we will keep the property and there'll be a rental income. And the rental income for that building, well, I think I've done that. I'll show you in a minute. So the rental income is £2,500 a month. Mortgage is bigger because it's a bigger property, and it's we're paying, whereas our residential properties, we're paying a interest only mortgage. On a commercial property, you're more likely going to be paying capital and repayment mortgage. So your mortgage payments are going to be slightly higher, but that's fine because it's reducing. It means the mortgage value is reducing over time. Profit on that building then is £1,300. So it's just to show you the difference in rental income from a commercial property. Generally, a commercial tenant is in for 10 to 15 years. And they take a full insuring and repairing lease. So you don't have to do anything, but you don't have to pay any repairs. You might pay agency fees if you've got a few commercial properties, but we manage this building ourselves, so we've got no agency fees. So there's, as you can see, there's a bit more money to be made in commercial. And I just wanted to do a little bit of comparison. So just showing you the values here. So the 2 residential properties for 110,000, we're making 3,900 a year. We spent 195,000, or that's 100. We're only making 3,500 a year profit on that property. So it's worth thinking about when you're looking at properties, what are you getting for your money? So what we may end up doing is selling the more expensive property in the future and going and buying some of these cheaper properties in the area where we were investing there. And then the commercial property, well, you can see, you know, for not much more in price, the rent, the annual profit on that rent is just ridiculous. So I just wanted to show you the comparisons. And if, like you say, if you rent your office at the moment, it really is worth thinking about buying a property and renting it to yourself. Who do you need to know in order to do all of this? I'm conscious of time, so I'm not going to go into any detail, but oh God, I didn't mean to go that quickly. Sorry about that. Oh, Hayley's got to go. Thank you, Hayley. Sorry, let me share again. I'm not sure what's going on here. So we need a power team. You need a team of people around you, especially if you're wanting to make this a passive income. You don't want to be involved. Then you've got to find the right type of people. Most important people in there would be the accountant and your broker, because these are guys that are really going to help get you started. So a really good accountant, get that advice. How do we structure this? How do we set this up? Get a broker who's going to really understand the industry, and get a broker that understands buy-to-let properties. If that's the route you're going. If you want to go into commercial, find a financial broker that knows about commercial. It's really important to get the right people to give you the right advice. What do you need to do to make what do you need to know to make your first offer? So you need to do your research, find the properties. We need to know what the fair market value, how much will that property be worth when you've done all the work to it? We need to take away from that fair market value, how much profit do we want to make from that? Then we want to take away the costs involved in doing the work. And then we want to take away any fees. And that's how much you're going to put in as your offer. Whoops. So we need to do the research. We need to have all this information, and then we can make our offer. And that's pretty much it. That's a whirlwind journey into property. Me personally, Forget Me Not Properties, we're looking for property all the time. We're looking for empty properties. You can get much better deals if you find properties that are not already on the market. So if you're driving past a house and it looks really run down, we'd stick a letter through the letterbox saying, would you like to sell your property? You'll see adverts in papers and on lampposts saying we buy houses. Those are the types of things we're looking for as well. So we offer a finder's fee. If you find a property and we end up buying it, then we're offering £100. If you want to put your money into one of our projects, then we can offer you a much better interest rate than your banks are paying you. So you give us your money for 12, 18, maybe 24 months, depending on the project, and we can offer you interest rates in the region of 5 to 8%. We also help business owners build a passive income stream with property. Oh my goodness, I don't know what's happening there. It's moving. So in conjunction with Paula, and thank you very much, Paula, for hosting this session today, but Paula and I have put together a 90-day program to help business owners look at building a passive income stream with property, where we'll go into much detail in the stuff that we've talked about today. If you want to start a career in property investment and development, then I highly recommend, oh, I know it's my phone's on the space bar. I highly recommend that you get a property education so that you really know what you're doing. You will make much less mistakes. We still made mistakes, but that's partly because we were going off and doing things without checking with our advisors. Now we know how valuable our advisors are to us in our business, and we're really loving what we do. Hayley, who was on the call earlier, she's from Your Freedom Empire. I'm a property mentor with Your Freedom Empire, and they do a stream of training in commercial, in rent to rent, in service accommodation, in all the various different property strategies. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, then you can get in touch. Let me stop sharing. In terms of what's next, you know, how many of you loved what you've heard today and would love to know more about getting into property and do more from it? I'm offering a half-hour call where we can just have a chat in more detail about your own situation and what you want to get into. So pop in the chat box if you would love to have a call and talk in more detail about what you would like to do with property. Does anybody have any questions? Silence. Sorry, have I stunned you all?
It's all quiet on the front, but Wendy, did you not tell me you only had six half-an-hour slots?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, I've cleared about 6 slots in my schedule over the next 2 weeks, and I would love to you know, connect with you and talk to you in more depth about what you would like to get from property, and perhaps signpost you into the different areas that you can look at.
So Alan says, yeah, it would be great to have a call, Wendy. So Alan's up for that. I love that, Alan, because I know you're determined to get onto the ladder on that. And Lizzie, thanks so much. You just need to pop off. Okay. So guys, look, Wendy's sparing 30 minutes of her time. If you want to take advantage of it, please connect. There is no catch. She just likes giving and helping. So if anyone of you just wants to just talk through it, what you're thinking and what your thoughts of planning your future plans, please connect with Wendy. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, so yeah, Dina's interested in having a call. Yeah, absolutely. Kate and Ian would like a call.
That's brilliant. I love people that takes action and want to just have a chat and go through their thoughts.
Absolutely.
Love
Yeah.
it. It's very powerful to get clarity.
Yeah.
Wendy, that was amazing, sweetheart. I absolutely love that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My
Guys,
pleasure.
after reflecting on this, if you've got any questions whatsoever, please give me a shout or Wendy a shout. We're always open to any conversation you need or any clarity you need. We're both here. Wendy's the expert though in property, and she's done incredibly well. So thank you, Wendy, and thank you everyone for joining today. We really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for coming along and supporting me
You're
on my
an
first property webinar. Okay, I'll get in touch with those of you who've requested a chat, and we'll get you booked in.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.